Hey, what's going on everyone? Vega here for SerpentX Tech, and in this video we're going to be talking about the king of GPUs, the GTX 1060, finally being dethroned by the GTX 1650. But why is that? First, a moment of silence for the king of GPUs, first of their name, king of the Andals, and Reinhardt and the First Men. I'm just joking. Why is the 1650 and its 1060 so popular? Well, first off, we got to think about the current situation that we're in and the situation that kind of led up to the 1060 holding the crown for 5 years. It is the shortage of GPUs, the amount of, or the prices of these GPUs, say like the 30 series, even the 20 series during the peak of the pandemic and supply shortages. The prices of these GPUs, even on the AMD side, were quite exorbitant. And so many OEMs, right, so your HPs, your Dells, Lenovo, so on and so forth, when they would have a pre-built for their end users or clients, they would often pair it with a cheaper, baseline GPU. And the 1060, though it came in 3 gigabyte and 6 gigabyte variants, it was a really good GPU. If you wanted to build a quick gaming system for your kids, daughter, son, whatever, you can get a quick system up and running with the 1060. And it can handle most games. Maybe not play the AAA titles at the highest settings, but it could handle most games. So it was very common. Now, number one thing is the survey itself, the Steam hardware survey. You can't opt into it, but usually when you install, and you can install Steam on Linux and Windows, you would get a little pop-up window, right? And in this pop-up window would ask you, do you want to participate? And you either accept or deny. But it basically takes your hardware information, and I got to the Steam information by going to help and then system information, and it looks at your cores or your CPU, the number of cores, the GPU, what's supported, what's not supported, so on and so forth, and that gets put into a survey. But just remember, you can't opt in by choice. You have to wait until you're asked. They randomly sample the user base at a regular interval to get reasonable and valid statistic estimates of the user base. And the survey is nice and neat, presented to you online. You can look it up right now. I'll have it linked down in the description. We can see that the 1650 has taken over that number one spot, but look at how long this 1060 has held the throne. And it's the budget option. It's a GPU that's under $250 that gets the job done, and many OEMs trying to pinch pennies and save a buck, but still get you a system that works and works well. The 1060 was the go-to choice. It held that crown, that number one spot, from June 2017 to October 22nd. And the nature of Steam's stat gathering makes the data inherently noisy. It can only capture data volunteered by users who happen to open and use Steam while the data is being collected. This makes it useful for identifying broad trends over time, like CPU and GPU market share, the number of cores a CPU might have, and the rough adoption rate of their, like a new Windows operating system like Windows 11, but not quite as good as measuring data points, like, for example, which individual GPU is the most popular. Because I know many of you out there might be utilizing maybe a 3060, 3060 Ti, 3070, maybe a 2080 Ti still, maybe a RX 5700 XT or a 6600 XT or 6800, whatever it might be. So, you look at this data set and you're just like, how is it that the 1060 is so popular? How is it that the 1650 is so popular? And it goes back to the environment in which these GPUs lived, right? During beginning of, before the pandemic even happened in 2017, the GPU was very popular because it was the budget option that could get you started. Allowed you to utilize some of the newer features compared to the 9 series, right? The 10 series really knocked it out of the park. Many of you still ran the 1080 Ti for so long before finally upgrading. So a lot of people stuck with that generation for quite a while until the 3000 series. Some of you bought the 20 series, but the 3000 series is really what made 10 series users upgrade. And then we got the pandemic hitting, the supply shortages, the constraints. And so spending an exorbitant amount of money, like say $1,200 for a 3060 Ti, absolutely ridiculous. You wouldn't do that. So you probably maybe upgrade it to a 1650, 1660, 1660 Ti, 1660 Super. But again, considering the OEMs they more than likely bought these budget option GPUs and then sold it to their customers that wanted to save a buck but still get into gaming, especially those parents that wanted to buy their child a system. Will we ever see, and this is ArsTechnica, by the way, I'll have a link down in the description, will we ever see another individual GPU become as popular as the GTX 1660 as it was at its peak? Never say never, but recreating the conditions of its success, starting with Nvidia's launch, an RTX 4060 that outruns an RTX 3080 for just $250 doesn't seem especially likely right this minute. And I would agree with that because we all know that Nvidia is trying to get rid of its 3000 series stock before it releases other 40 series variants, right? We're still waiting on the 4070 that used to be the 4080 Gigabyte, and whether or not we'll get a 4060 or a 4060 Ti or a 4050 is yet to be determined. We don't have any concrete data on that. So I don't think these GPUs, the 1060 and the 1650, will be dethroned just yet unless OEMs choose a new budget option that, you know, kicks ass and takes names, can play most AAA titles at decent frame rates, and that the end user would want. But you got your OEMs, you know, using this GPU to sell to the mass market, but then you also have the normal end user, the average individual, wanting to build their children a system or even themselves a system, and they're going to use the more budget option that's around, you know, $200-$250 range to get started, get their foot in the door before they even think about upgrading their GPU in the future. So it's sad to see the 1060, 6 gig and 3 gig get dethroned on the Steam survey, but it's time to move on. It's time to upgrade. The 1650 is just a quick jump over to the next generation. What will be the next one? Maybe the 2060. We don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Are you still rocking a 1060? Do you love your 1060? Are you rocking a 1650? And we also got to think 1650 and 1060 mobile variants were very popular in laptops, ultrabooks, and stuff like that. So if we consider that in the hardware survey, we can see why there's a huge number of market share owned by these two particular GPUs. But that's going to do it for today's video. Please do me a favor, hit the like button on the way out. Make sure to get subscribed, hit the notification bell to stay up to date, as well as check out links in the description. That'll support the channel and what we do here. I hope you have yourself a wonderful day. Take care. Catch you next one.